Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Found It, Fetched It. This week we're going to be talking all about should you use a dog field or a secure field to train your gun dog. We're going to talk about the pros and cons, and joining me for this week's episode are LWDG Group experts Samantha Thornycroft-Taylor and Gemma Martin. Now Sam, this was your idea as a topic. What makes you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so like you've briefly touched upon, there are loads and loads of pros, but also some cons to using a secure dog field. And I think a lot of people can sort of get stuck in a loop that maybe isn't beneficial for their training going forward. So I think it's a good topic to delve into, and hopefully anyone listening will have a few ideas or better ways to use it moving forward.
So, Gem, are there loads of like secure fields and dog fields around with you? Is this something that you see people using a lot of?
Yeah, we're surrounded by lots and lots of secure dog fields. In fact, we hire one for our UK dog sports. And like Sam says, they're super beneficial and they range in different sizes. Some are like 3 acres, some are 5, some are only 1 acre. But they're a great tool if used right for your training.
So let's talk a little bit about how people sort of use them at the moment, because I can understand we tend to like book the field, drive there, take the dogs off, no pressure because it's a secure field, and for like 30 minutes or an hour, our dog can be literally free. No distractions. We not have to worry about somebody coming up to us and going, it's okay, he's friendly, or any of that, because it's our field and it's all sorted. But I want to talk about whether it's actually helping us train or if really it's like holding us back with our training. Before we start, let's go through the pros of it, because we don't want to sound like we are dog field haters, do we? What are like the highlights of a dog field?
So for me, I mean, I'm definitely not a dog field hater. I think they can be massively beneficial because apart from anything else, they can give the owner or the handler a huge amount of confidence, knowing that if something does go wrong, your dog is not going to jump through the hedge and run down an A road. And if it doesn't respond to your recall as quickly as you need it to, you don't have to panic that something bad is going to happen. So I think for me, the main benefit is the owner handler confidence, because it means that they can then take the next step in their training. Whereas if they were up on the open moors, they might sort of go, actually, I'm not going to let my dog off the long line because I don't know what's happened, or what might happen.
Yeah, I think exactly that. Definitely the confidence thing. It gives you the ability to manage distractions in the environment as well, because you know that someone's not just going to pop around the corner with their dog, or their dog's going to invade your training session, things like that. So yeah, definitely a great tool.
I think it will, without doubt, like as you say, Sam, to expect the unexpected. It helps us to manage some of those sort of unexpecteds, because even if like a dog was the other side of a fence, or a horse or a deer, we've got this sort of genuine physical barrier that gives us a little bit of space to breathe, doesn't it?
It does, exactly, and like Jem said, because they vary in size and they vary in location as well. So there will be a lot of secure dog fields out there that will have rough patches of grass and might hide the odd bird or the odd rabbit. So you can still practice with lots of natural wildlife scent, and you might flush the odd bird and you might watch the odd rabbit running away. But it gives you the ability to practice the correct responses from your dog in those situations. And also the confidence that if it does flush a bird or if it does flush a rabbit, it's not just going to keep running into the distance.
I think for some, though, and do you see this, Gem, it's a case of like, for the first time, they've been able to like truly enjoy a walk. Because if I think about it, like on Dad's farm, okay, they weren't secure fields. Dogs could have got out if they wanted to, but it gave us these boundaries that the public didn't come into on the most. So we felt a little bit safe to walk the dogs. And I've certainly seen the difference since we haven't had access to that and I've had to use more public spaces. It's not as much fun like walking the dogs. So do you think you can understand why some people just take the lead off and go, do whatever you want because I have got the pressure released off me?
Oh, massively, especially if you're dealing with reactive dogs or anything like that. going somewhere that you know your dog's not going to have anything that is going to cause a problem, it's a massive, like, oh, I can just let my dog off and not worry. But that in itself comes with other problems that we're going to talk about in a bit.
When you said a little bit earlier, you actually use it for UK dog sports. Is that because it gives you what we've just talked about, all those pros, like a secure boundary, people have got a space to enjoy their dogs, and you're not having to worry about outside influence?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Our field that we do the gun dog training in isn't enclosed. So that's one of the things that we need to manage. And the A-frame that we use for UK dog sports lives in the field. So that's another reason.
Yeah, because that is another like pro of this. A lot of these dog fields, it's not just like a blank field. It's got things in there that helps people. Like some of them got shelters for like humans to stay lovely and dry while the dog goes mad outside. Or they've got like little agility jumps and little things. So you can do stuff with your dog you don't normally do.
Yeah, a lot of the fields around us have all got sort of agility stuff, and they've got even climbing frames for dogs and things. So there's lots of things to sort of amuse you and your dogs while you're there.
When we're talking about like the pros, these all sound like amazing, and people are probably thinking, well, what really are the cons? So let's go on to that a little bit. What do you see as the dangers, Sam?
For me, the biggest downside to a secure dog training field is what you mentioned, is the fact that people will go into them and they take a huge sigh of relief and they go, right, I'm going to let my dog off, and my dog can now go and do whatever it wants for 30 minutes or an hour, however long you've hired it for. And all they've got to worry about is getting the dog back at the end. In that situation where the dog is safe, it is also rehearsing behaviors that are undesirable for when it's in the free wide world, so if it spent that 30 minutes running around, not paying you any attention, not listening to any commands you're giving it, and just having the time of its life, it's going to think that that is what happens when it's off lead. It's not necessarily going to learn that it might be able to do that in that field with those 4 fences, but it can't do it when you're walking across the lakes or along a public footpath. So I think it's finding that balance between using them for the benefit of the ongoing training so that you're not having to go to a secure field forevermore. Amen.
What other sort of cons do we see, Jem? Is it a case of like not just this false sense of progress, but like maybe like comfort zones? Is it like people are like, oh, it's so good in here, I'm never going back out?
Yeah, and you do run that risk of thinking, actually, my dog behaves really well in here. And let's be honest, after your dog's been to a secure field 2 or 3 times, they know full well that there are boundaries to that field, so they can only go so far. And quite often you get this false sense of security that your dog's doing really well and it's listening and it's coming back. And then you take them out and they go, well, hey, we're not in the secure field anymore. I don't have boundaries. I can go further. So it's noticing that, not getting stuck in that comfort zone of going, oh, it's going really well, I'm going to stay here forever, or it's going really well, I'm going to take it outside straight away and expect the same behaviours. And also, because there are so many secure fields, there's ones with woods, there's ones with water, there's ones with all sorts of different things. Make use of all of them and go and proof your training in those different environments, so your dog doesn't just get sort of pen wise. It doesn't think, oh, well, I'm here, I'm going to behave. It's a bit like dogs that get long line wise. The same thing can happen in those secure fields.
I think as well, like when we talk about pen wise, unless you're the type of person who gets out of the car and walks the entire perimeter every single time you take your dog on a lead to make sure there's no breaks in the perimeter, nothing's happened. I've seen it where somebody's been the one side of the pen and the dog has like found a little hole, got under, and is now free in the world. And the human is almost trapped because they're like, I've got to run back to the other side. I've got to get out the gate to go and get this dog back. And that's got to be a bit of a terrifying moment for an owner. Even though they are secure fields, you've got to check they're secure on you and that there's no risks in them.
I mean, in theory, they should be checked most days by the people that run them because they're advertised as secure fields. So you would like to hope that if you let your dog loose in one of these fields that they're not going to find a hole. So generally, on the whole, the fencing is pretty good. It's usually dug into the ground and things like that. And they are pretty secure. But yes, I can imagine that would be a terrifying moment for someone.
When we talk about as well, like go try this one, go try that one, and they are incredibly beneficial, and we're going to go on to like how we can use them to our benefit in a sec. There is an expense of all this though, isn't it? Because like you are literally taking your dog out most days. If you're using secure fields most days, it's probably costing you somewhere between like £50 to £100 a week to walk the dog.
Yeah, I think most around us are probably about £10 to £20 an hour, depending on how many dogs you take in. Are they roughly the same around you, Sam?
Yeah, I think they are. Like you say, Joe, you either fall into a trap of going, well, I've got to go there every day and it is costing you a fortune, or you sort of go, okay, well, I can't justify the expense every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my dog on a short lead 6 days a week. And on that 7th day, I'm going to take it to that field and then give it this massive blowout and it can run around and do what it likes.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that happening. And I can understand, people enjoy that security, especially if you've got a dog that's really hard to handle in the real world, shall we say, and you can't take it off lead, you can't do all these things. It must feel fabulous, but there is these sort of negatives that we've discussed. So moving the episode on, how can we make a field work for us? If I've booked one today, what could I do that's going to be so great for my dog rather than encouraging it to learn behaviors that we don't want in another field?
So I think for me, if I've got a dog client that I've been working with, had no recall or it's practiced previously chasing wildlife into the distance. So we've maybe put it on a long line and we've used guided learning and sort of, taught it the correct response to a recall with use of the long line. A secure field can be a natural next step. And it gives you the opportunity to test the waters. So you could go in there and you could maybe do exactly the same exercises you've been doing with the long line and still use the long line for the first couple. And then you go, okay, well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let go of the long line, or I'm going to take the long line off. And I'm going to practice the repetition of the correct behaviors, knowing that if it does all fall apart, about to end, because so it's just an extra layer of security for me, but always bearing in mind that when you are using them, you always want to use them with your future goal in mind. If your goal is to be able to have that decent recall wherever you are, you have to make sure you're practicing that within the secure field as well.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's the same sort of guidelines we give to our clients that use them, is don't create any sort of grey areas for your dogs. It needs to be black and white with them wherever you go, wherever they're off lead. There's no point trying really, really hard to keep your dogs nice and close 6 of the days of the week. And then on the 7th day, they go to the secure field and they're 2 acres away having their best life, ignoring you, because then we create grey areas. And when there's grey areas, dogs often make the wrong choice in those grey areas. So keep it nice and black and white for your dog and give them a fair sort of chance to understand the rules.
And I think also you can use it to practice with lesser distractions. So if you're trying to progress your retrieve, your steadiness to retrieve, or the number of dummies you've got on the floor, the direction, the distance, etc., but the only other access or place you've got access to is the really busy field that everybody with a dog uses, and your dog's struggling to concentrate in those areas, then you can take it to a secure field to progress other bits of training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because I've been doing Gemma's masterclass on no more pulling. So like doing lead and heel work training with Arthur. And like, I talk to you guys like every day and you were like, do it off lead. And I was like, what do you mean take my baby off lead? Because I don't have use of the farm. So I don't feel confident. So I can see how I could do the stuff with Arthur in the garden, and then my progression can be taking him to a secure field for my confidence more than his. He doesn't know any different, and using, like you said, good behaviors, good ways, making sure I train the good stuff, and then see that as my progression out into the real world. Is that what you guys are saying? Like, use it as a stepping stone, not as a place to encourage bad behaviour.
Exactly that.
Yeah, and to not use them as sort of a crutch and get too comfortable just being there. Use them to progress your training and make use of the fact that you aren't going to have those distractions, or, you know, when you're building distance on your memory retrieves, nobody's going to walk up behind you and go, "You've dropped this." Yeah, so make use of them for the good parts and don't let your dog practice the behaviours that you wouldn't want outside the field.
So we were to basically use our field as just like another tool. It's not we're going to live here forever. It's a case of we're using you, then we're going back out in the real world. And then I suppose for owners, if they use it that way, if they go out and then they start to see a problem forming, you can, as we always tell people, step back inside the field, the secure field, and start working on rectifying that before we take it back out. So using it as this sort of like just place of safety to reinforce behaviour.
Yeah, exactly that. And you can always ask friends to come with you with their dogs and train together so your dogs can get used to working with other dogs in a more controlled environment as well. So yes, they definitely have a use.
Yeah, it can be either a stepping stone of progression, or it can be a place of safety. If you come up against an issue that you need to go back and you need to work through, you can use it for that as well. But it's a bit like, I don't know about you, Jem, but I sort of hear from a few people that get in touch and they say, "Oh, you know, my dog does this perfectly in the garden, but as soon as we go out on a walk, it all falls apart." And I think that's where it comes down to. We always talk about the 3Ds and the progressing through the environments and stuff. And it's a good way of adding an additional level of environment, but knowing that additional environment isn't going to throw in a million and one other distractions at the same time.
Fabulous. Well, hopefully, listeners, you've had time to reflect on your own field use. We would love to hear if you use them, if you don't use them, your thoughts behind them. And for those who are using them, we'd love you to think about whether it's helping you move your dog training forward, or is it just helping you to cope with life outside when you're trying to train your gun dog. You are not alone in feeling unconfident in the normal world, because I, especially with new pup, I'm starting to definitely feel like, oh, where should I take him? What should I do? Because I'm very conscious of all the things that could and may go wrong. So please take on board what the experts have said, and I will take it on board too, and we will try to move forward together. If you have an older dog and you are finding them difficult to handle, please make sure you get our Calm Dog Blueprint. It's a fabulous structured support tool to help you calm yourself, calm the dog next time you step outside the front door. You can download it today at ladiesworkingdoggroup.com/Calm Dog Blueprint. That's /Calm Dog Blueprint. And you can get your instant access PDF right away. Thank you, ladies, for another amazing podcast. It has been really informative. Is there any sort of top tips you want to give for using fields to our listeners?
I think for me, it's basically make sure that everything you're doing inside that field is beneficial to your training progression and life with your dog moving forward. Don't ever practice behaviors in there that you don't want to see out of there.
Fabulous. We hope you all enjoyed, and we shall see you all next episode.